Good morning students. Our chapter number 8 wind, storms and cyclones is going on. In the first period we learn about some activities which shows air exerts pressure. Today we will see the remaining part of this chapter. Students, in the first period we learn about the first point, air exerts pressure. Many activities we learn in that. Now our next point is high speed winds are accompanied by reduced air pressure, and in that we learn the first activity, activity 8.2. In that activity we required one small piece of paper. We make a ball size shape of that piece of paper, and when we put this paper ball in a empty bottle, and when we blow the air, that time that paper ball will not be move inside the bottle, will be forced to come outside, what will be happen, we will see in the next point how it will be happen. Now our next activity, activity 8.3. Activity 8.3, blow the balloons. Now see the activity. Take two balloons of approximately equal size, अंदाजे समान साइजचे, एक समान साइजचे दोन बलून हवेत. Put a little water into the balloons and blow up both the balloons and tie each one to string and hang the balloons 8 to 10 centimeter apart on the cycle spoke or a stick. We can use cycle spoke or stick also we can use, and blow in the space between the balloon as shown in the figure. We have to take two balloons, we have to put some water in that, little bit water in that, and when we blow the balloons, and afterwards it has to tie at the spoke, cycle spoke or stick, and we have to blow the space between the balloons, we have to blow in that. And what did you expect? We are expecting that balloons will be move in a opposite direction, but the balloons are attracted towards each other, then why this will be happen? When we blow with the when we blow in the distance between in the space between that balloons, that time what happened, they moved towards each other. And why this will be happen? The air pressure between the balloons were somehow reduced, and the air pressure outside the balloon would then push them towards each other. काय होतं, ज्यावेळेस आपण त्या दोन फुग्यांच्या मध्ये ज्यावेळेस ब्लो करतो, हवा सोडतो, त्यावेळेस काय होतं, ती एअर प्रेशर त्या दोन्हीमधला रिड्यूस होतो. त्यामुळे ते एकमेकांजवळ अट्रॅक्ट होतात. बाहेरचा जो एअर प्रेशर आहे तो त्या बलूनला एकमेकांकडे ढकलतात, त्यामुळे ते एकमेकांकडे अट्रॅक्ट होतात किंवा जवळ येतात एकमेकांच्या. नाउ नेक्स्ट activity 8.4, can you blow and lift. Now see the activity. Hold a strip of paper 20 centimeter long and 3 centimeter wide. One paper strip is required, and that paper strip will be 20 centimeter long and 3 centimeter wide, and hold that between your thumb and forefinger as shown in figure 8.5. Here figure as shown. And now blow over the paper. And what will be happen? Paheli thinks that the strip will be lifted up. And Bojo thinks that the strip will bend down. Now see in the figure, a person who are holding the paper strip, and when he blow, that time the paper strip will be lifted up. Why this will be happen? What do you think will happen to the paper? Now we will find out why these things will be happen. In activity 8.2, the paper ball will not going inside, it comes outside, it is forcefully comes to the outside. Afterwards, in a 8.3 activity, the balloons will be attracted towards each other, and 8.4, the paper strip will not be bent down, it will be lifted up. Why this will be happen? We will find out the answer. Now let us try to understand the observations in activities 8.2, 8.3 and 8.4. Where the observations along the lines you thought, and did you get the feelings that increased wind speed is accompanied by a reduced air pressure? Yes. Now we will see one by one answers of this activity 8.2, 8.3 and 8.4. Why this will be happen in activity 8.2 to 8.3, 8.4. We will see. In activity 8.2, when we blow into the mouth of the bottle, the air near the mouth has higher speed, has and a higher speed. This decreases the pressure there. This decreases the pressure air, and the air pressure inside the bottle is higher than near the mouth. Is higher than near the mouth. When we blow the air, that time air pressure is higher in our mouth, but when we blow, that time air pressure which is present in the bottle, it is higher than which is present in our mouth, which is present in our near to the mouth, and that's why the air inside the bottle pushes the ball out, and when we blow the air, that time the air pressure which is present in the bottle, it is greater than which is present in the near to the mouth, and that's why this air pressure will be pushes the paper ball to the outside. In activity 8.3, you saw that when we blow between the balloons, they move towards each other. And how could this happen? This could happen if the air pressure, if the pressure between, if the pressure of air between the balloons were somehow reduced. When we blow the air, that time the pressure between the balloons will be reduced. Somehow it will be reduced, and that's why the pressure of outside of the balloon which is present there, they will be pushed them towards each other. In activity 8.4, about paper strip. In activity 8.4, you saw that when you blow over the paper strip, it went upwards. It went it went upwards again. This could happen if blowing over the paper reduce the air pressure above the strip. And when we first time, when we before we blow, that time when we hold the paper strip, that time air pressure is present on that strip. That's why it is lifted down. That's why it is bent down. And when we blow the air, that time air pressure which is present on the strip will be removed. And downside air pressure will be lifted to the paper strip upper side. In this way, the paper strip will be lifted up. We see that from this activity, we see that increased wind speed indeed accompanied by reduced air pressure. And can you imagine what would happen if high speed winds blew over the roofs of building? If the roofs were weak, they could be lifted and blown away. If you have any such experience, share it with your friends. We saw on television also, when thunderstorm was came, that time due to the high wind speed, rooftops was blown away by the wind. We can many more time we can saw on television also, and in our daily life also, when thunderstorm will become, that time we also have that type of experience. Now let us try to understand how winds are produced, how they bring rain, and how they can be destructive sometimes. Now we are aware about that moving air is called as a wind. Then how it will be, how they are bring the rain, and how they can be destructive sometimes. You already know that when air moves, it is called wind. Already that definition will be given at the starting of the chapter. Air moves from the region where the air pressure is high to the region where the air pressure is low. How the air, how the wind, how the air will be travel from one place to the another place. How air moves from the region where the air pressure is high, and from that region to the where the air pressure is low. The greater the difference in the pressure, the faster the air moves. But how are the pressure difference created in a nature? Now we are aware about that we learn that air will be moved from higher, where the high pressure is there, from that region to the low pressure region. In this way it will be moved. But how the pressure difference will be occurred in a nature, how it will be created in a nature, is this difference, is the difference in temperature involved, and for that purpose it is involving out the temperature for the preparing pressure difference between the air which is created by the nature. The following activities will help you to understand this. Will you help understand this? Now our next point is air expand on heating. Air expand on heating. Expand प्रसरण पावणे, पसरते, एअर पसरते ज्यावेळेस आपण त्याला हीट करतो. ऍक्टिव्हिटी 8.5. नाउ सी द ऍक्टिव्हिटी 8.5. टेक अ बॉइलिंग ट्यूब. Take a boiling tube, stretch a balloon tightly over the neck of the tube. Tightly over the neck of the tube. You can use a tape to make it tight. To make it tight, and pour some hot water in a beaker. Pour some hot water in a beaker as shown in here figure. Balloon tied over the neck of the boiling tube. Okay. Then insert the boiling tube with the balloon in a hot water and observe for 2 to 3 minutes. Observe for 2 to 3 minutes for any change in the shape of the balloon. Any change in the shape of the balloon. And see the second picture. When we put that boiling tube immersed in a hot water, the balloon will be inflated. The balloon will be inflated. Take the tube out and let it cool down to the room temperature, and take some ice cold water in another beaker and place the tube with the balloon in cold water for 2 to 3 minutes. Cold water 2 to 3 minutes. Now see the third picture. Boiling tube immersed in ice cold water. That time balloon will be inflated. And observe the change of the shape of the balloon. Now think and try to answer. What makes the balloon inflated when the boiling tube is placed in hot water? When we put that boiling tube in the hot water, that time balloon will be inflated. And why the same balloon deflated when the tube is kept in a cold water? When the tube is kept in a cold water, because the boiling water gives the water vapor. The boiling water gives the water vapor or a gas to inflate the balloon. But when the balloon tube put in a cold water, it start deflated. Into the flask, into that beaker, because the low pressure inside the flask or tube and high outside the tube. When balloon which is kept in the boiling tube, hot water, that time that hot water gives the water vapors to inflate the balloon. It makes the inflated balloon. And when it keeps in a cold water, that time air pressure is reduced. Low air pressure. Because of low air pressure, the balloon will be deflated. And can we infer from the first observation that air expands on heating? Yes, air expands on heating. When we put the boiling tube in the boiling water, in the hot water, that time air will be inflated. That time, from that we can say that air expands on heating. And can you now state what happens to the air in the boiling tube when it cools down? It contracts. It reduced. Air pressure will be reduced. The next activity is very interesting, and this will make you understand more about hot air. Now this activity is very simple. You can do your home also, but do this activity carefully. Now see the activity 8.6. Take two paper bags or empty paper cups, like small tea cups also, small paper cups, small, or you can make the paper cups also. Take two paper bags or empty paper cups of same size, not in a one smaller one bigger one, of same size it is required. Hang the two bags in the inverted position on the two ends of the metal or wooden stick, as shown in the figure. See the figure, first figure. In this way you have to prepare the position of the paper bags, and a piece of thread in the middle of the stick and hold the stick by the thread in a balance. Here it is shown in a balance, and put a burning candle below one of the bag as shown in figure, and observe what happened. And the balance is disturbed because of the burning candle. Because of the burning candle, the balance between the two paper bags will be disturbed. And this activity indicate that warm air rises up? Yes, this activity indicates that warm air will be rises up. And as the warm air rises up, it pushes the bag above the candle. And thus the disturbance of the balance suggests that warm air is lighter than the cold air. Yes, warm air is lighter than the cold air. Can you now explain why smoke is rises up? Why smoke is rises up? I will explain you how the warm air is lighter than cold air. How warm air is lighter than cold air? When air gets heated up, it expands. It expands and becomes less dense. It become less dense than the air surrounding it. And also the distance between the molecule is increases. The distance between the molecule of hot air will be increases, so the less dense air floats in the much denser air. Float in the much denser air. And just like ice float on water, as ice is less denser than water. We saw that ice is also float on the water. Because ice is less denser than the water. In the same way that the air, when it heated up, that time it will be expand. And becomes less denser than cold air. And because of that it will be float on the cold air. It is lighter than the cold air. And that's why in the same way that smoke also has less denser than air. That's why it is rises up. Now see, also it is important to remember that on heating the air expands and occupies more space. Because the distance between the molecules will be increases. That's why it occupies more space. When the same thing occupies more space, it becomes lighter. And the warm air is therefore lighter than cold air. And that is the reason the smoke goes up. Now in nature there are several situations where warm air rises at a place and the air pressure at that place is lowered. The cold air from the surrounding areas rushes in to fill its place, and this setup convection in air, as you learn in chapter 4. We will learn this concept in chapter 4. In nature several situations are formed where the warm air rises at a place, and the air pressure at that place will be lowered, and that time the cold air from the surrounding areas rushes in to fill its place. Today up to this we will cover. Remaining part we will see in the next period.